All right, I think we're live here. Welcome to, I think this is episode 6, Argent Alpha Unscripted, with my co-hosts, Brock Harling and Clint Murray. Good to see you guys. Today, the topic is recovery, and we're talking about recovery in the context of a training program. So I want to talk about what is recovery, what it isn't, and then some easy ways you can implement recovery into your routine. So first, I'm just going to frame it. What is recovery? Well, recovery only happens in the presence of exertion. So think about stress plus recovery equals growth. So Brock, because you're our mobility guru, and I think mobility is a big part of recovery, what's your take on what is recovery?
A recovery, like you said, you have to stress it hard enough to be able to recover from. So if you have nothing to recover from, then it's just like you're just kind of in that a nonstop recovery, which pointless. But being able to give your body rest, being able to give your mind rest. You look at, I've trained people that have been. It's really easy to identify now when you see someone who's in that overtraining piece of it. And they're just like, this is the only way I'm going to get better. I have to put the hammer down all the time and just like day after day, got a red line, got to get better, got to get stronger. And like that is, it's an approach that doesn't have any recovery in there. Your body, if you're going through that strain and that stress, you need to be able to rest and recover. And that's where a lot of your muscle growth or most of your muscle growth comes from, is in that recovery process too. So if you're not taking that step back, giving your body what it needs, listening to your body. That's why we talk about all the time, but these wearable devices, Jake, you're big in Glint on the Aura Ring. I like the Whoop strap. They both have really good indicators of what recovery is and when you're there. Because a lot of times people don't know what it should feel like to be in that. What should I do today? Should I hammer again? I think I feel like I got some energy, or is it telling me, is my Whoop strap Aura Ring telling me that I need to recover? And just paying attention to some of those things and getting into the right training program. And, we talk about it very, very often. Less is more, and not more is not always more. Less is more. Clint, you could probably speak. You're talking about that a little bit before this.
I had a quick question for you, Brock. One of the first things you said was there's visible signs of people overtraining. I'm wondering if you could talk about some of those. And I'm asking for a friend on that. So.
Well, when people are in the constant state of soreness and you're watching them warm up and they're just like, they are so rickety that they could barely move. Sometimes you just overdo it, but it's like, if that is just constant, like they can't get that range of motion, or they're so sore and they're just dragging. And it's like they're working so hard, but it's almost like they're towing an anchor behind them. It's just like I think an off day would probably be a good thing. That's one of the pieces. I could go way into depth there, but I don't want to take all the airtime here.
Yeah, one thing, just to zoom back, summarize some of what Brock said, is when we think of recovery, it's sleep, it's mobility, it's training with a plan. It's not just working out random stuff. It's random acts of fitness. It's training with a plan. It's proper fuel and hydration. And there's a mental aspect to this, a mental reset, breath work, journaling, solo retreats. So recovery is a physical and a mental practice. So before we move on to what it isn't, anything else you guys want to add? We talked about wearables a little bit. I think as an Aura Ring guy, one of the things I see in our Aura circle, I think we got like 15 men that are in there. There are some men who are just chronically have low readiness scores, and that usually correlates to a lower sleep score, and their activity scores are high. And I know these are guys who are working hard. These are not slackers. And they're just, I think it's classic signs of overtraining. And I think as men, we're wired to show up every day, 24/7, grind it out. And you need to put the brakes on a little bit and redirect that energy into mobility, active recovery, walking, some stretching. Breath work has been huge for me. I love box breathing, long inhales, longer holds, and then a really slow exhale. And I see it on my on my Aura Ring. And I literally at night, I sit there and I breathe like that while I'm watching TV, or even doing mobility work. And huge, huge, huge in terms of how I feel, but I see it in my readiness scores. So I don't know if
One,
anything.
one,
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
thing I'll add on that, Scott. So if our equation that we talked about at the start, stress plus recovery equals growth, like think about that. It's really easy for people to see that, or like plug in the fitness side of it, but plug in anything else, like work stress. And if you're not recovering from that, you're just like pulling all-nighters day after day, week after week, month after month with no recovery. You will have no growth. And you're like that mental
Mm,
growth, or that mental, I mean, it's just like, it's kind of the same thing, right?
yeah.
If you're going to hammer and do it for a long time, you had better go and, recover or take some time to unplug. And that, I mean, we're talking about solo retreats and just like being able to like completely pull back and listen. Like, you're not going to have any growth. You're going to work yourself to death, and just like not be effective at all.
One thing that's coming to mind that we mentioned earlier, and that's important to mention here, is that recovery is part of your training plan. And so, me, somebody, I want to do something every day, no matter what. But if I look at recovery as my training plan, that doesn't mean I'm not doing something. That means I'm putting effort into mobility or the stretching or the breath work. So there is something I'm doing every day that's part of my training plan for sure.
Yeah, and I think for some people, this analogy might help. You probably don't invest all of your resources into one asset class. You diversify: large cap growth, large cap value, international, small cap, bonds, real estate, cash. Training is similar to that. I mean, if you just do strength training every day, you're over indexed, you're going to get hurt. If you're a chronic cardio guy, that's not good either. If you don't do mobility, you're just an injury waiting to happen. If you're not doing some breath work and some mindfulness, but when you have a little bit of your training program going into every part of those, not necessarily every single day, you're more well balanced and you're likely to get a better return on investment. And so I think it's like whatever you do in your finances, having that apply to your life is also not a bad idea.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's move on. We're going to make this one a little bit shorter today. I want to talk we kind of cover this, but what recovery isn't. It's not going 100% year round. When you think about sports, there's the off season, preseason, regular season, postseason, off season, rinse and repeat. So athletes are not operating at 100% level. They're operating at a high level, and they want to peak in the postseason and bring home the trophy. So that's one thing is you don't need to you can't go 100% year round. Mm-hmm. Training without a sleep strategy, bad idea. Sleep debt equals recovery debt. Ignoring mobility. This is a classic one guys like to blow off. If your range of motion sucks, you're just an injury waiting to happen. And then a lot of guys, they want the secrets, the shortcuts, the hacks. It's like they're just like in anything in life, they don't exist. You got to have a repeatable recovery practice. Anything you guys would add to what recovery isn't, or any of those points you want to expand on?
All of them, but I know that we're kind of crunched for time today, so just let the program keep moving.
I would just say add to that, and we talked about it earlier, and this kind of adds to that, is less is more, right? And you saw it, Jag, when you were doing Discover Strength, building muscle by doing less. I saw one bodies last week by actually I've done less the last month than I have several months before. So
yeah. Hey, one thing I wanted to follow up on when you guys mentioned, I think a lot of guys who were born in the 50s and 60s and early 70s think that soreness is a great metric that they are doing the right thing. And I think if you're a beginner, you're bound to have some kind of newbie soreness or starting a new program or something new, but soreness is not the goal. And we got a couple old school guys who love to like use soreness as an indicator of are they working hard enough. And there's something called DOMS, and if I remember right, delayed onset muscle soreness. A little bit of this is probably normal, but this is not an indicator to chase. You can have a great workout, and you should be able to walk and talk and chew gum the next day, right? And if you're just hunched over and just in pain, it's like, okay, You're going too fast. You're boiling the ocean. You need to slow it down and then take a couple rest days.
That's an example of overtraining in a sense too, like that I was talking about. Like and that's why I love the metrics, the main metrics that we have through InBody. Like you could catch all of that. Okay, you look at for 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. If you're doing that kind of training program, what are your metrics? Are you adding muscle? Or
Hmm.
are you just like chronically chasing like that endorphin rush or dopamine response of just like, hey, I crushed it, I just flattened myself, I could finally rest today, like, or doing this less is more type approach and listening to your body, running some of the metrics on your wearable devices and being intelligent about the way you train, and then measure that. Try both of them, see what one works better for you, see which one you feel better on, see what one that one thing that we talk about all the time is mentally having to go to the well to like will yourself to go. Like what are you most likely to do? Like if it not too much, not too intense, you probably can, like get yourself to stay more consistent with that instead of just like, oh, I just crushed myself yesterday and the day before. I got to do it again today. Okay, I guess I'll do like, I mean, that mental wear and tear, like that adds up too. And I've watched so many people just wear themselves out mentally. That's over
Hmm.
another sense of overtraining too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think you mentioned something there. Overtraining is a relative term. You get two 55-year-old guys, one who's been a gym rat for 20 years and knows his way around, and one who has been away for 20 years. Two different training methodologies,
Hmm.
and so there's a relative part of this too. So let's talk about easy ways to get started. So I'm going to throw out the number one thing is you need a sleep strategy. And I think if that's the one thing you take away is create a sleep strategy. So what is a sleep strategy? Let's just fire off a bunch of things that we talk about all the time in Arjun Alpha. We talk about consistent bedtimes and wake times. We talk about a dark room. We talk about a cool room. We talk about no food or alcohol after dinner. Ideally, no alcohol at all late in the day because it just disrupts your sleep. A 3-hour window between dinner and bedtime is a good rule of thumb. No screens the first hour before bed, the first hour. And so having that sleep strategy is a huge thing because if it's like, well, Tuesday I stayed up late for the game, Wednesday I had a dinner that was late, Thursday I decided to binge on a Netflix show, like that's not a sleep strategy. It's a default standard and it's undermining your performance. So design a standard, have a sleep strategy. That's number one. Anything you guys would add to that as far as like,
Like a lot of times the 10-3-2-1 that you said, like people go, okay, I'm gonna do all of them right now today. You know, not many people can, or you're gonna be so sparse that are like you track all of them. And I bet you like you're hitting them about 40% of the time at best. Pick one. Like I'm going to cut out caffeine 10 hours before bed. I'm going to do that for a week, 2 weeks. If I can do that, then I'm going to implement the cutting out eating after and then drinking and then the screen time. The screen time piece, I work with people on this all the time. An hour is so daunting. But what isn't is like start with 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to be, I'm going to journal, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to take a shower, or I'm going to do, then expand that out. Maybe it's like 20, 25 minutes later on. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do some mobility now. And then over time, you'll be able to work up to an hour. But man, look at that evening routine. It's polished. You actually look forward to it instead of just having to be a negative of just like, well, Scott told me I can't watch Netflix. So now I'm not watching Netflix before I go to bed. This sucks. It's like, it's actually something that will fuel you.
For me, this is something that's new. I'm new to wearables as of this year, and so it's been very eye-opening, and I really enjoyed. I'm late to the party. I wish I would have joined earlier. But for my sleep strategy, it was always just, hey, a minimum of 7 hours allowed for sleep time. And it's very interesting when you start tracking how, I'm not a pro at it, and so I'm going through all these testing phases, different things, glycine, melatonin, dark room, different types of things to try and get optimal. So it's definitely worth it.
yeah, it has a huge ROI.
Yeah.
Second thing, so create a sleep strategy. Second thing, develop a mobility routine. And I would say make it the buy-in to your workout, meaning I don't get to work out
Uh-huh.
until I do mobility for at least 5 minutes, ideally 10 to 15. And this month in Argent Alpha in September, we have a mobility challenge, 15 minutes a day. I've missed 2 days out of what we're on day 9, and it's a game changer. So develop a mobility practice. If your first question is what's a mobility practice, here's your opportunity to improve your chat GPT skills. Go into chat, right in there. For me, I'm a 60-year-old male who wants to reduce the risk of injury. Create a 10 to 15 minute mobility practice for me. I have a shoulder tweak and my knee is not as healthy as it once was. Take that into consideration. Type something like that into a prompt and see what it comes back with, and then just go execute it. Thoughts?
I couldn't be a bigger believer in this. You guys already know that. Like every class, every training, person, one-on-one, small group, myself, it always starts with foam rolling on the upper back, get your lats, get your hips. And then it's like, get the orb ball out. We go all the way around the hips. We hit the upper body. And it's like that, in a sense, is so much bang for your buck of a warm-up. Like the piece of it that I always come back to is like when you go to a chiropractor, like your adjustment, that is you doing mobility. And then the only thing that keeps you from having to continue to do those adjustments is a strengthen out of there. And that's really what you're doing when you mobilize, is you increase your range of motion, and now you strengthen all those newfound positions. And that's how you, over time, get a bigger range of motion and then strengthen there, and that decreases injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mind goes to the September challenge, which has been a perfect for me as a member. It's forcing me to, or it's not forcing me, but I'm engaging in mobility and recovery before any workout. The importance of it just shows every time I do it. I know it's Brock's love language, and I have shoulder issues, and Brock's telling me to roll on my pec and things like that. It's just, it's not something I normally want to do, but
do you think after this 30 days, Clint, that you're going to continue?
Well, my mind was going, how do we incorporate recovery into the A5, like a completely separate standard? It might be worth diving into, but yeah, it's my intention to keep going.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing I'd add in terms of recovery, so sleep, number 1, a mobility practice 2. And the third one is movement every day doesn't need to be crushing yourself every day. So active recovery, going out for a walk. A ruck is a great active recovery option. Doing some light stretching, but moving every day, something's greater than nothing. With the occasional doing nothing day. It's all right too to take a complete day off, mentally rest, physically rest, give yourself a break. And again, we're talking to the guy out there who's doing the work. If you're not doing the work, that's a different podcast. Get off your ass, get off the couch, go start doing some work. You got to earn your recovery. But if you're not exerting yourself, there's no recovery required. So that's a different message for a different crowd. And so with that, we're going to wrap up here quick. But any last thoughts? We're just bound for time. We wanted to get out the quick nuggets, quick hitters, get guys going on a recovery practice.
Last thought for me is I always like the saying, stimulate, not annihilate. So even stimulation, not annihilation. So
that's a good one. I
like
that. Less is more. Just like any other habit that you're building, start small. Do something. I'd rather have you do something small and consistent than heroic and just like this huge endeavor. That's like, well, I did recovery, just like you said, hour and a half, one time a week. Like, I'd rather have you do 15 minutes every single day. Like, you're going to get so much more out of it. You build a habit, and you can always build off of that.
And I think I would add to that with maybe it's a riff on both of what you both just said, is consistency beats intensity. But once you establish consistency, then it's consistency with periodic bouts of intensity.
Totally.
And when you get to there, don't start with intensity. Start with consistency, and then you put in some periodic bouts of intensity. Then you're cooking with gas.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally agree.
All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you guys next week, and appreciate it, Brock and Clint. Have a good day. Talk to you guys soon.
See you guys.
See you guys.